and gentlemen, and welcome back to Tech Showdown. My name is Kevin. Teddy's back today from his adventure, and today we are going to be doing the Asus Strix GTX 960 versus its big brother, the Asus Strix GTX 970. So I wanted to put the 960 up against the same model, just the higher one, obviously the 970, just so we can see how much difference there is within NVIDIA's lineup. Now, for those of you with a keen eye, you will notice there's no graphics card in my system right now. I'm running on integrated graphics. Wow, what a downgrade. Now, there is a reason for this. Obviously, these are the two cards I'm testing right now, so I want to have them out so I can show to you guys. But usually when I'm not testing cards, I have my own personal card I use, or my backup card, which is my VaporX R9290, which I told you guys the card I'd keep once I finish the 970 the 290 Showdowns, the best one. But that's run into some trouble. So yeah, it just started flickering. The screen kept going blank. I looked in Event Viewer and it said it was a video hardware error. Looked through a few other things, and yeah, it's having a few issues, so I'm getting that RMA'd. So a bit of a shame there about the VaporX 290, but it's probably just I got a bad one. You know, it happens every so often. It's not just with AMD cards. Quite a few people have been having trouble with 970s lately too. However, we're talking about this one today. Also, if you want to go over to Playtech TV, I'll put that link down in the comments below, and then you can watch the GTX 960 versus GTX 760 video I'm going to be doing over on that channel. So those people that wanted to see the difference between how good the 960 is versus its predecessor, you can go watch that, and that should be up right now as well. Now let's get into this one then, and start out with the GPUs themselves. So on the 970, you have the it's going to be Battle of the Maxwell, so a GM204 Maxwell, and that has 1,664 CUDA cores. And over on the 960, you have the GM206 Maxwell with 1,024 CUDA cores. So, and these are both 28 nanometers still. So yeah, quite a few more CUDA cores on the 970, although the 960 GPU is slightly newer for whatever that counts for. Now, both of these use GPU Boost 2.0, which means they have what they're clocked at, you know, what it says on the box, their boost speeds, but they usually go a lot higher than that. So in the case of the 960, it went all the way up to 1,366 megahertz. And in the case of my Strix 970, it went up to 1,278 megahertz. So slightly higher clock speed there for the 960. Now let's get to the memory, and this is what a lot of people have been talking about when it comes to the 960s and 970s. Well, in terms of a big difference between them. So the 970 has 4 gigabytes of GDDR5 video memory, and that's at 7,010 megahertz on a 256-bit memory bus. Now, both of these cards have NVIDIA's 3rd Gen Delta color compression, which is basically an improved memory compression and caching to make up for their smaller memory buses, so that's fine. However, when we move over to the 960, it's only got 2 gigabytes of GDDR5 at 7,200 megahertz, so a little bit faster, but it's only on a 128-bit bus, so it is quite limited. It's not really that much, and we will talk about this a bit more later when we get to the benchmarking. So what does that mean? Basically, you've got a more powerful GPU in the 970, more video memory, a bigger bus, and OC-wise, both of these things go crazy. I don't do overclocking for this channel for a variety of reasons that I've covered a million times, but there's plenty of other channels and review sites that do that. So if you want to see how hard they go, then you can look there. But 960-wise, you should be good for about 1,500 megahertz is what I'm hearing from people. 970 can also go around that high if you're lucky. So yeah, you can get some crazy overclocking out of both of these cards. Now onto the cooler, and they're both running the Strix cooler, as you guys are more aware, which is basically an updated DirectCU 2 cooler, but they've thrown out a few of the old things out in that. So as you can see, the 970 is quite a bit larger than the 960. And overall, the shrouding and everything, it's all the same design. Bit difference in fan size, so it's about 75mm fans on the 960, and I think that 100mm fans on the 970. That's what it looks like with my eye. So aside from that, they both have aluminium heat sinks, so that's really good. Obviously, the heatsink on the 970 is much larger because it's just a much larger card overall, and some of the heat piping's changed. So on the 970, you get two 8mm heat pipes coming out the bottom there, and then the big 10mm heat pipe coming out the top. Whereas on the 960, you get small, looks like two 6mm, yeah, two 6mm and two 8mm heat pipes. So you get 4 heat pipes on the 960, and what I believe is, yeah, 3 on the 970, although it is quite a bit larger. So there's a difference in that, but overall it's the same cooler pretty much. And both of these cards have Asus's upgraded components, the Super Alloy Power, DigiVRM, all that stuff on, well, for each one, respectively. So upgraded components, which means, in theory, better overclocking, better reliability, longer lifespans, all that fun stuff. Power-wise, the 960 just takes a single 6-pin, and the 970 takes a single 8-pin, so not much there. 1 SLI finger on the 960, 2 on the 970, which is why the 960 can only take dual SLI, whereas 970 can do triple SLI. We move around to I/O. It's kind of bizarre, so this is what really caught me off guard. It's not really that big of an issue, but it's kind of strange. So the 960 has more than NVIDIA reference, so triple DisplayPort, single HDMI 2.0 port, and a single DVI connection. Now, the 970 just has single DisplayPort, a single HDMI 2.0 port, then a DVI-I and a DVI-D connection. So it's strange that the you get 5 connections possible on the 960, but only 4 on the 970. Although, as I said, that shouldn't really be an issue for the majority of people out there, and it doesn't really matter, but it's strange that the 960 followed the NVIDIA reference design for I/O, and yet the 970 didn't. Now, size-wise, as you can imagine, there is a decent difference there. The 960 is coming in, I'll do inches and centimeters for all my viewers. 960 is coming in at 8.47 by 4.77 by 1.61 inches. Or in centimeters, that's 21.52 times 12.12 by 4.09 centimeters. By comparison, the 970 is coming in at 11 inches long by 5.5 inches wide by 1.57 inches tall. So actually the 960 is slightly taller than the 970, but the 970 is a decent amount longer. And as far as centimeters go, the 970 comes in at 28 centimeters long, 14 millimeters wide, and 4 centimeters tall. So overall, the 970 is a decent amount wider. As you'd see if we look at, oh, not really. And they both have backlights, as you can see. So the 970 is a bit wider and quite a bit longer by a couple of inches there. So, that's going to round out the overview of these cards, and let's dive straight in then to the benchmarks. And we're going to start, where else then? With Unigine Heaven 4.0. This is a DirectX 11, everything maxed out 1080p. The Strix 960 scored an average of 33.7 frames per second. The Strix 970 scored an average of 53.8 frames per second average. Now if I get these names muddled up, it's because, you know, so forgive me. Now, Heaven again, this time OpenGL, everything maxed out, 1080p once again. The Strix 960 scored 30.9 frames per second average. The Strix 970 scored 49.6 frames per second average. So about 20 frames better there for the 970. Now we're moving into some games. So Tomb Raider. This is on the Ultimate preset, so everything maxed 1080p without VSync. The Strix 960, 59.7 average frames per second. The Strix 970, 80.7 frames per second average. So that one was, yeah, still a pretty decent win for the 970 there. Now moving on to BioShock Infinite. This is on user setting 2. The Strix 960 scored 76.5 frames per second average. And the Strix 970 scored 115.9 frames per second average. So really stretching out its win there in BioShock Infinite. Now, for a new game I've added, because I'm trying to cut down on the synthetics and add more games in it, is Shadow of Mordor. This is quite a taxing game, so I thought it would be a great one to use for this. It's also an awesome game to play. So this is Shadow of Mordor on the Ultra preset without VSync on. The Strix 960 scored 48.6 frames per second average. The Strix 970 scored 81.5 frames per second average. So that is a massive win there for the 970, almost double the 960. So it really pulled ahead. So I said you guys I'd talk about video memory for a bit, and I was seeing how high the memory usage went on the 960. Now in BioShock Infinite, it went all the way up to 1,994 megabytes. So that's really high usage, almost maxed. And in Shadow of Mordor, it went the full 2,048 megabytes, so it's full 2 gigabytes of video memory. That's why you see such a huge discrepancy there, because it's hit its maximum video memory. That's why people, you might be have heard people saying it doesn't have enough. 2 gigabytes is not enough. This is at 1080p gaming. Granted, Shadow of Mordor is quite a taxing game, quite difficult to run. Very, very good graphics. However, yeah, that's pretty shocking, and that's what gives you that huge discrepancy there. Is that the 2 gigabytes is just not quite enough there. Now, with the benchmarks out of the way, and we can also see that was a huge win for the GTX 970, let's go now into the temperatures and see how they did. So, I did Unigine Valley as well, just testing for temperatures, and the highest temperature we got out of the Strix 960 was 60 degrees Celsius, and that was at 46% fan speed. And then over on the Strix 970 in the exact same benchmark, it scored 67 degrees Celsius at 41% fan speed. So a bit of a bizarre one there. So the 970 was slightly hotter, although it is a higher performing GPU, so that kind of makes sense that it's going to output more heat. However, that was at a slightly lower fan speed. Remember, these guys both feature Asus's 0 decibel technology, which means the fans only turn on when they get above a certain temperature. Otherwise, they just when you're just doing casual stuff, browsing web, watching videos and stuff, they'll just be off the whole time, so they don't make any noise there. Now, I also took the temperatures in Unigine Heaven during the 4.0 benchmark, the DirectX 11 one. The Strix 960 went up to 60 degrees Celsius again, which seemed to be where it liked to sit. Whereas the 970 went up to 69 degrees Celsius, which is bizarre. They usually score very similar, but this time the 970 was actually higher in Heaven. So yeah, bit of a difference there, but it's kind of to make sense, and that's way under their thermal limit, so that's very, very cool. These Maxwell GPUs just do not run hot roll, so temperature-wise, that's fantastic. And as far as overclocking headroom goes thermally, that's a really good amount. And I mean, these fan curves are very conservative, so you could, run a very aggressive fan curve if you still wanted to bring temps down further. Now to noise. So as I just said, they both use 0 decibel technology, which means fans aren't on. So there's no point doing this, doing idle testing, because they're both completely silent. However, there is a point doing them when they're on load. But just put out there, yeah, they're both incredibly quiet. Not much difference. The 960 is slightly quieter, but there's nothing much in it really. Anyways, I'll let you guys judge for yourself. So this was during the Unigine Valley benchmark. So this is what the Strix 960 sounds like during the benchmark. And here is the Strix 970 during the exact same benchmark. So not much difference there. They're both going to be incredibly quiet. They should be great for all your gaming needs. They're not going to get in the way. It's not like one of the cards where you just have to have noise cancelling headphones or a really good sound system. They're going to be just fine. They're not going to be bothering anyone, I don't think, very good in terms of noise. So that brings us now to the conclusion. And of course, the 970 is the better card here in terms of performance. And, I mean, most of you probably already knew that before you clicked on this video. However, the point is that there's a price difference here. You know, a substantial price difference in some cases. And is it worth it? And honestly, I just have to say it is. I know some of you are to a budget and, you know, you might have like school or other things, so you don't have a large amount of spare money, or it takes a while to save up money. But honestly, I can't recommend the 960. I just can't really, especially compared to the 970. If you're having trouble affording a 960 at its current price, then I'd say, honestly, I'd look in the second-hand graphics card market for a 970. That's what I'd honestly say is your best thing to do. Now, people go on and on about second-hand graphics cards and how a nightmare they can be. The most reliable 290 I ever owned, and the one I ran the hardest, was my reference 290, and that was an X-Mining graphics card that I bought second-hand, and that thing was fantastic, never missed a beat. So, yeah, you just gotta use your common sense, and that's what I'd recommend. So, try to find yourself a second-hand 970 if possible over the 960. So, yeah, this one, I gotta give it to the 970. It's just gotta win. It's just a better overall card, much more future-proof with that 4 gigabytes. It's gonna do much better, even at 1080p gaming. Everyone's just saying, well, 2 gigabytes is enough for 1080p gaming. I just shown you guys that in some cases it's not, and this is only gonna, you know, keep becoming more the case in the future as games become more graphics intensive. So yeah, go for the 970. If you can get one brand new, there's not that much difference in price. You know, if there's like $100 or less difference in price, then 100% go for the 970. If there's more, say like a $200 price difference where you live between them, then yeah, that's when I'd start looking for maybe a good second-hand one, especially one, you know, that a person's maybe just run for a week or something and not liked, or something like that, and that's what I would really recommend. However, if you have a GTX 960, then, sorry, 960, 760, then I suggest you go over to Playtech TV and watch that video about the 760 versus the 960. And in the future, just so you guys know, I'm not going to forget, we are going to be doing the 960 against something from AMD side. I'm sure you guys can figure out what that is. So that'll be a good video also, and we'll see if it fits better within, you know, people deciding out of an AMD card or the NVIDIA card. So that will be a good video also. But yeah, for now, go with the 970. That is my recommendation. Now, I thank you guys for watching this video. Please subscribe to Tech Showdown if you haven't already, and like this video if you enjoyed it, because it really lets me know that you guys like these types of videos and gives me the motivation to make more of them in the future. Anyways, so thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys